If you have not followed his Triple H horse racing podcast, you're missing out. It's one of the best podcasts in the country.
Good morning and welcome to our final 2024 Saratoga Today on a beautiful Labor Day weekend, Monday, September 2nd. I'm your proud host, Howard Kravitz, along with good friend, co-host of Picks and Ponies from the Commonwealth of Massachusetts and the Saratoga Special, Mr. Paul Halloran. Paul, good morning. It is closing day. It's always sort of a sad day, but it's been one hell of a meet again at Saratoga.
Yes, it's definitely a bittersweet day, as I described it in today's Power Picks, which I hope people took advantage of. Yes, it's it's we talked about it yesterday. It seems like it's very intense, but it seems like it goes by in a flash. There's a lot put into those 39 days of racing this year due to the cancellation.
Yeah, it's been, I'll tell you what, it's been really incredible ride here. I want to say, first of all, Saratoga Special, yourself, everyone involved, Clancy Brothers, one hell of a job once again. The coverage is great. If you are not familiar with the Saratoga Special, please go on to thisishorseracing.com. Of course, their final edition has already been out, but Paul, once again, great job, man. Kudos to you and the entire staff. And we got a lot to talk about. We are going to talk about the late pick five today here on the HHH Racing Podcast on closing day at Saratoga with one hell of a feature race. The hopeful this year looks really good. I'm very excited to talk about that race, Paul. Before we get into the handicapping, we want to make sure everyone please hit the subscribe button, of course, on the bottom right hand side of the screen. We'll take care of some of the peripherals a little bit later, Paul. I want to get into just a very quick meet summary and just give your thoughts because you follow Saratoga as close as anyone here on the show. So let's talk about a few things. First of all, these are the current jockey standings. Obviously, IRAD has wrapped up the title once again. Flavien Prat breaks the all-time record for stakes wins in a season with his win yesterday, I believe, is when he broke it. Tyler Gaffalione, another very solid meeting. A lot of people almost feel like Dylan Davis is actually the story of the entire meet with his breakthrough. Currently in fourth, could finish as high as third if he passes Tyler G. Any quick thoughts on the jockey standings or any storylines from this year's meet regarding the jockeys?
Well, I mean, I think you touched on the key ones, Howard. IRAD is just a machine, and I think there's a great lesson to anyone, no matter what you do, in looking at IRAD. First of all, you could see it when you watch TV. IRAD rides a $20,000 claiming race the same as he rides a Grade 1 race. He is trying every minute of every race, and I think that translates well to anything you do. And for those of us who are out there in the morning, he's out there in the morning working horses, going by, checking in on the horses he rides. So the work ethic of all these guys, but again, the guys at the top are there for a reason. Pratt, we commented among our group text the other day when he won that turf stakes, getting up the rail and in what looked like an impossible, but the thing about Pratt is long on turf, dirt sprinting, long on dirt. Yesterday, you saw what a masterpiece he did with Highland Falls yesterday, not letting Arthur's Ride get away. So, kudos to him for that record. And I do think in a lot of ways, in hockey, Howard, they have the seventh player award. If there were a seventh player award in the jockey colony, Dylan Davis wins it unanimously. What a tremendous, tremendous meet he has had.
Any surprises other than, I guess, Dylan that you see in these standings, maybe with the win percentages or top three, or anything? Johnny V doesn't get a lot of mounts anymore, but he was really only 15% this year. I thought Kendrick might have a better meet. Frankie did have 5 wins, but only 10%. It's obviously extremely difficult to win at Saratoga, but any other than Dylan, any pleasant surprises or any jockeys you thought, frankly, were disappointing this summer?
Well, I'm just looking at what you have on the screen. I mean, by his standards, I think Joel's meet's probably at 12% is a little disappointing. But as you said, it's every race. It seems like there's Hall of Fame jockeys in there. So I will say my good friend Junior was off to a very tough start. Had only I think 2 or 3 wins through 2 weeks, which is about a third of the meet. And finished. He's up there. I think you just had it up there. I think he's up to 22, and got beat on a big favorite yesterday. But he really the second half of the meet had a very, very good meet.
He did. We already had a lot of comments in the chat. We really appreciate it. I'll tell you what, Paul. I want to throw a shout out, frankly, to both of us because I thought we were spot on Friday yesterday and Saturday with our Saratoga today. You had a bunch of really nice opinions on Saturday morning with our early pick 5. I had some nice thoughts yesterday with Peros to start the pick 6, and I had a bad Arthur's Ride vibe yesterday. We're going to talk about yesterday a little bit after our handicapping, Paul, as well. But Arthur's Ride, it just shows you how crazy this game is, right? I mean, 2 110 plus figs. I know Pete Visco, again, tip of the cap for him, who loved him in the Whitney. He was working slower, and it just felt like this was a really good field and a time to beat him. And I think what yesterday shows you, Paul, in the Jockey Club Gold Club is why we like aggression from jockeys. I always would prefer a jockey to be too aggressive rather than passive. And Flavien Prat, an absolute masterclass ride on Highland Falls after the start before, and I showed the video. Drew's ride on Highland Falls at Monmouth was just completely ridiculous when he lost to Tapit Trice, and when they were aggressive with Highland Falls, he took it to Arthur's Ride a little bit earlier and just flat out beat him like a drum. And it was just, I thought, a fantastic ride as usual by Flavien, who, Paul, I will end my short diatribe with this. If this guy is not strongly considered, and I mean really strongly considered for an Eclipse Award this year, I have no idea what people are watching. I thought last year he could have gotten the Eclipse Award. I got to tell you, I think he's the Eclipse Award winner as we speak right now over IRAD. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, you can make a very cogent argument, can't you? And I touched on it earlier. And certainly IRAD does everything well too. So but the thing about Flavien too is, he made the move to New York, yet he still, he won 2 weekends ago. He was at Saratoga Friday, Del Mar Saturday, Saratoga Sunday. He's popped down to Kentucky Downs once or twice already. So he's just very, very solid, and that's going to require some contemplation from those of us who vote for the Eclipse Award.
Yes, absolutely. We got TC Marco in the chat talking about the Catholic Boy shirt I'm wearing. I wonder where this is going. I think there's a horse in the last race that people might be interested in betting. Actually, not my top choice. I'll just say that right now. Jeffrey Wilson agrees with me. Flavien should win the Eclipse this year. Joe Sapienza was here. It said, good morning. Sad to see the meet end. The other thing I wanted to mention to you about yesterday, Paul, well, 2 other quick things, then we'll get into the handicapping. The workout earlier, I think it was this week or last week, between Highland Falls and a horse named Federal Judge, who I claimed on this show Saturday, said bet as much as humanly possible on that horse. And unless he was 4 to 5, I'm not patting myself on the back, but who absolutely romped over a very good accretive. Paul, that workout must have been something special. And workouts, as you know, can be fickle. You have to know how to watch them. It's not just about the time. But I'll tell you what, the more intel you have in this game, the better off you are.
Yeah, and that is one advantage, Howard. We always talk about the big stables versus the little stables, and one advantage the big stables have is when you have a horse like Federal Judge, Brad Cox, you have a horse like Highland Falls you can work him with. Some of the smaller stables, they may have a, quote, big horse, but who the hell are they going to work him with and have him keep up? So, yeah, that I would like to have been I'm assuming I think Brad works most of his on the Oklahoma side where he's stabled. I would like to have been on the rail for that workout.
Oh yeah, for sure, because that was a hell of a workout. The other thing I want to give a tip my cap to, Andy Serling yesterday. Look, I know he's got his detractors. I don't think it's really because of his handicapping. He can be a little bit mercurial, to say the least, and argumentative, and he's not everyone's cup of tea. I totally get that. He gave out rough drafted like 30-1 in the turf sprint and knocked the hell us out of the pick six and most people, even though I went six deep and felt stupid, although I would not have had the winner in the last race anyway. And then he gave out Highland Falls. This guy is the most prepared handicapper, I think, on air that we've seen in, since he's been on air, at least in my time. Again, he's wrong, just like all of us. I love the fact he tries. He's not afraid to take some chances, Paul, like we are, and go for it with some prices. And the guy just does his homework. To come up with that horse, I thought was absolutely brilliant.
Yes, I would agree with all of that. Andy is an acquired taste. I can't say that I know him well. I've certainly met him. But there is no doubt about the work that he puts in. And, now it's his job. I can relate. We do these power picks, and, I spent quite a bit of time doing one of them. And I think, well, he does this like every day, every New York racing day. No, but regardless of it's your job or not and how much time you have to do it, it is a mental grind, and you have to tip your cap to anyone. We just got through talking about IRAD putting in the work. You tip your cap to anyone who puts in the work like that.
No, I totally agree. Last thing I want to say, and you just touched on, well, two other things. Sorry, we're spending a little time here because we want to make sure the scratches come out. Training. I forgot to bring up the trainer situation here. Chad Brown, let me just bring it on screen. Again, this is through today, so it's not over. But Chad Brown obviously going to win the training title. Pletcher, how about Michael Maker? Tied for second. Pretty damn impressive for Michael Maker. Linda doing Linda's things. I think Mott's had a solid meet. Cassie is 29%. What struck me most, other than Chad just dominating, are the percentages of some of these guys and how well they spot horses. For example, Mark Cassie, almost 30% this year. Safi Joseph, 31%. How about Ray Handel this year with 8 wins, 23%? Really solid. Phil Power, 35%. Tom Amos, 21%. Look, these guys don't all have the same amount of horses in their barns and the same stock. But if anyone thinks the best trainers in the world in general, well, I should say in the United States, sorry, are not at Saratoga, with all due respect to Del Mar and the excellent trainers they have out there, this meet at Saratoga is just unbelievable with its trainers. You got to, that's okay.
We have a guest.
We got
Good
Martha.
morning, Martha. How are you?
Hey, Martha.
You want to say hello to the HHH people?
Hi,
All right, I'll be right in, okay? Mom's on the way home.
Paul's daughter, Martha, there. Should I take you off screen for a second, Paul? You good? Oh, hi, Martha.
Say hi to Howard.
Hi. All right. We get a Martha sighting. We don't get.
He's ready for closing day.
Wonderful. I'll take you off the screen in a second here. Are you good? Are we good? Okay. Okay. No problem.
Cameo performance.
I love it. We don't get to see Martha very often. I love to see Martha in the background. Anyway, great job by many trainers, Paul, this meet.
Yeah, and we talked about it. I don't think Chad was that enthused about Linda tying him on the last race of the meet last year. And, he's got other fish to fry, but he's a very competitive guy, and he wasn't going to let that happen again. And I think if you listen to her going into the meet, she wasn't as confident this year. And, frankly, she doesn't have the stock to keep up with him. But you are right on target, though, with the percentages. John Ortiz, 50%. These folks figure out, the guys and gals who have been around know what it takes to win up here. And you don't just bring horses up here to let them enjoy the cool morning air, right? No. You have to have the right horses.
Well, I think that's what makes the handicapping so damn hard. It's you can't throw out too many horses because of the trainer. It's like, this guy's good, this girl's good, etc. It's just really difficult. Let's see. Person in the chat, Abraham Mendez. I'm new to racing and love hearing all your guys' opinion. Thank you, Abraham. Thanks for joining the show. Really appreciate it. Abraham, please spread the word about the HHH Racing Podcast. We have 3 shows a week. We had weekend shows as well. We were I just realized we were 5 live shows a week during the Saratoga meet, which will lead to my final comment at the end. Last thing I promise. Next year, Saratoga dates might change. They might go earlier. They might go a little bit earlier on Belmont at Saratoga week. And I think the bigger story is they may start a week or two earlier with their regular meets for several reasons. Details on that, Paul, and any thoughts? I'd love to hear your opinions on either one of those situations.
Yeah, I heard a lot of rumblings about this when I was up there, Howard, and some of it's calendar generated. So the Belmont is, I think that's pretty straightforward. I think they'll run Wednesday through Sunday instead of Thursday through Sunday. So that's one extra day. The way the calendar falls next year, Labor Day is the earliest possible day, Monday, the 1st of September, which puts their opening day all the way back to July 10th. And it's going to be very tempting for them to run the July 4th weekend up there. They're going to call it part of the Belmont at Aqueduct meet. So it's going to be Belmont at Aqueduct at Saratoga. Probably like the Thursday the 3rd through Sunday the 6th, the closing weekend. One of the reasons is they felt the Belmont Derby field this year downstate was hindered because a lot of the horses just stayed in Saratoga, and it is a production. But they're not going to stay, from June 8th when the Belmont ends to July 10th. So that's not, and none of this is official. As I say, I heard a lot about it when I was up there. Dave Grenning reported it last night on DRF, and I would think that NYRA's going to pretty much get what they want from the Gaming Commission. So I would expect those two things to happen. And yeah. I'll be right back, Howard.
Okay, no problem. So Paul's going to step out. I'm going to take him off camera here just a second. We'll bring him back on. Paul's got some family duties, as you can tell this morning, take care of things. Family, also, of course, always comes first. Sorry about that. The camera's going to be a little bit wonky this morning because of the lighting. I don't usually do, a lot of morning shows. And anyway, the lighting comes in from behind me. So I apologize for the camera situation, but it'll work itself out. We are going to get into the handicapping of the late. Wow, that's not very good. We're going to get into the handicapping of the late pick 5 here momentarily when Paul gets back. I want to mention a few programming notes. Our shows on Thursday, our regular Picks and Ponies Thursday shows are now going to start at 7:30 Eastern, a half an hour earlier. Again, 7:30 Eastern. This is to accommodate the NFL season starting. I know a lot of people obviously watch the NFL, and I'd rather not bang heads with the NFL very much. So we are going to be starting at 7:30 Eastern on Thursday nights instead of 8 o'clock. Our betting and boozing guys will start usually at their normal starting time on Wednesdays at 8 o'clock. The other thing I want to mention is this evening we do have our usual horsing around. I know it's Monday, Labor Day, but hey, HHH Racing Podcast, we're working hard here. So tonight, myself and Noah Maher, as I bring Paul back on screen, tonight, myself and Noah Maher will be going over a lot of the stakes action that occurred this past weekend. We're going to talk a lot about Breeders' Cup implications as well, Paul, with Noah tonight, who, by the way, did a great job with Frank Scattoni and also did a great job with Equine Edge. Shout out to Equine Edge and Chris Walsh. I know was watching this morning. And Oldie from Equine Edge had a 40K plus hit live with the rain out situation, the last race on Saturday, and an incredible job of handicapping from him. Anyway, Paul, we'll mention a few other quick things at the end of the show, but let's get into the handicapping right now. Scratches are not out yet, I don't believe. When they come out, please let us know in the chat. We will try to see that as quickly as possible. I've got my NYRA Bets link on here. Actually, I'm going to do that right now, Paul, as we're speaking. So everyone, give me a second here. As I'm doing this, Paul, it's sort of amazing that Chad was sort of bitching a little bit about, there's not enough high class racing at Saratoga, blah, 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 before the meet. And the guy wins by, he'll win by 20 races. It was a bit of a silly comment, to be perfectly honest.
Well, and you and I talked off air about his comments about the Breeders' Cup filly and mare turf. He's upset they're running in 1 mile and 3/8 because he thinks they get more American horses, North American horses, at a mile up to a mile and a quarter, and he thinks they're catering to the Europeans. And what I would say to that is, Aid O'Brien has requested that they run the Classic on turf, but they're not going to run the Classic on turf. They're going to run it on dirt.
I haven't heard a lot of trainers with really nice sprinting fillies that it should be 6 furlongs instead of 7. I mean, it is called the World Championships, right? I just
Right.
want to clarify. I mean,
And
anyway,
let's face it, look, we all got beat by that Chad horse on Saturday. Good luck
Yeah.
to him. That horse isn't winning the Breeders' Cup, whether they run it at 1 furlong or 32 furlongs.
no,
Okay, because that baloney's not going to be allowed to go on. He's not going to go a 26 and flat or whatever the hell it was. So, look, I will say this, though. I would rather have a guy like Chad say what's on his mind than just give a vanilla answer every time. He was very complimentary to Naira for leaving that race on the turf Saturday, that Flower Bowl. And when it was raining pretty hard, up to a few races, starting a few races before that. So, we can agree to disagree, but you're right. It is the World Championships, and are we going to be better off with €5 in the field? Yes.
It's just, I like Chad. He's one of the best trainers in the world. I mean, it's just a little bit off-putting. I just, just train your horses, man. Keep winning your grade stakes and just, do your thing. I just don't like I don't like when guys that are already winning a lot are still complaining. That's just, I just have an issue with that. Anyway, what I also have an issue with is the late pick 5 today, Paul, because I thought it was challenging. So let's get into it right now. Again, we got a ton of people watching as usual. Our viewership has been unbelievable for these Saratoga Today shows. The late pick 5 on closing day starts with race 8. It is the aptly named Harvey Pack Stakes, which, Paul, I'll let you talk about Harvey Pack for 10 seconds in a minute, because I'm sure there's plenty of people, especially younger people watching, that don't know who Harvey Pack was. It starts at 4:29 Eastern. It is a stake race, 5.5 furlongs. The rails are out 12 feet. The weather is beautiful. It's going to be fast and firm, 150,000. There are no scratches. Scratches are in, by the way. I don't know if they're going to show up at Equibase, but I do have scratches now, Paul. This one is clear. Moyline favors the number 5, Arzak, Trombetta, and Irad. Let's go and bring up our banners right now so people can see who we believe will win these races. I'm going 5-8-6. Paul's going 5-8-9. And I got to turn the scroll on because I turned it off when I was going solo yesterday. Paul, Arzak is going to be tough to beat if he runs his, I would say, B+ effort or better.
Yeah, I think, right, Howard, this is one of those pace makes the race, the old cliche. I really think there's going to be plenty of pace for him to run at. As I noted in today's power picks, he didn't really run well at all last time, and he lost by less than a length. And I understand it was a listed stakes as opposed to a graded stakes, but ran well in the Jaipur, beating everyone except Cogburn, who's kind of widely recognized as the top U.S. turf sprinter. He does have Irad. Trombetta's underrated. He's had 3 works since that last race, which I like. 3 works back at Fair Hill. And, I think with any type of trip, if the pace, the pace in turf sprints usually does develop. We bang our head against the wall in turf routes sometimes, like Saturday, but in turf sprints, it usually develops. Time form says it's going to develop, and I think he has plenty of pace to run into.
Yeah, time form has it neutral, so they don't actually have it fast. They have the 6 out there on a lonely lead. As we have seen, though, Saratoga going 5.5 is not Gulfstream or Del Mar going 5. You can close at Saratoga. It is usually contested. We both have the number 8, a horse that you and I both followed quite a bit over the years, Big Invasion. I thought he was off form, and I think he's getting back on form. I would prefer it to be 6 instead of 5.5. I like the cozy outside post. He seems to have a little bit of trouble sometimes coming up the inside or when he's in between horses and whatnot, Paul. He gets a cozy spot here. He's rounding back into form. And I'll tell you, speaking of workouts, and you could take them for whatever it's worth, he is working very well, like better than normal B+ workouts. I have not talked to the Clement Barn through text or other sources about Big Invasion. I have a feeling he's going to run a big race though today.
Yeah, same argument, Howard, as I used for Isaac. I'm looking for closers in this race, and this horse really comes from behind. We talked about Dylan Davis already, 34 wins. He could not, in his wildest dreams, I don't think he would have dreamed of winning 34. To his credit, um, he has only ridden this horse at least on the page once, and he won coming from behind in a Grade 2. He went up to Woodbine to ride him last fall. Yeah, I think the same reason I like Isaac to win, I like this horse to run second.
Our Stephanie, wow. Let's talk about Harvey Pack. Our Stephanie appeared on air with Harvey Pack on New York Sports Channel back in '87 from the studio in Aqueduct. He was a treasure for horse racing. Our Stephanie, that's pretty cool. Very quickly, Paul, who was Harvey Pack?
And that's where I discovered Harvey Pack. Sports Channel used to have a show, a preview show, and then I think it was a preview show. And of course, at the end, his famous line, "May the horse be with you." He threw his program. He was just one of those characters. Pete Fornatel did a book with him. I encourage everyone to read it. It's full of great stories. But he was kind of the original, handicapper on TV, although he would be the first to admit he was not as deep a diver as little Andy Serling, as he called him. But he was just one of the game's treasures, was still betting races up until I think he passed away 3 or 4 years ago. He was close to 90, if not his 90s. You just had to experience him. And that Sports Channel show, I love that comment, because growing up as a kid, that he did Steve Kristen, he did a before the races seminar in Ciro's. I think it was in the Carousel at one point. That's now the 4-Star Dave. So just a real treasure.
For sure. He was amazing. I remember listening to him a little bit. It was a little before my time when he was really going. I would say before my time, before I was a deep dive horse racing fan. I'm old enough to, of course, to listen to him, but I didn't. I was a little bit late to the game to some extent. Super Quest can win, and we're going to move on. I might be wrong about this horse. I feel a regression coming today, Paul, even though this one might be loose. I don't know if there's other speed to go with him, but that was such a tough effort last time. He only has one work since then. I'm using him. I'm just a little bit against Super Quest today, although obviously he can win. Let's go to the next race, Paul. The next race is race 9. I thought the early part of this pick 5 could be a little bit chalky, and I didn't think you had to spread as opposed to the last 3 races. I think you have to really spread. That was sort of my take. Again, if you want Paul's overall take, other than listening to him, check out the Saratoga Power Picks tip sheet, which many dozens, almost 100 people received this morning. Race 9, starter optional claiming 35, mile 16th on the inner turf. Rails are out 18 feet. There are some scratches, I believe, and I know the 2 is out. Again, yeah, okay, now they're showing up all great. So the 2 is out. She's cool. All the AEs are out as well. So it's going to be field of 10 with the morning line favorites. Number the 4. It's hot in here. Chad and Irad. He's also got another one, Dia Matrona, the 6 for Chad, and of course Franco. Let's see where we are going here. Whoop, not the right race, and I gotta turn on the banner again. My bad. Sorry about that. All right, here we go. We're going the same 3. I'm going 4-7-6. Paul's going 4-6-7. I'm going to show the replay, Paul, of the race that It's Hot in Here and Dia Matrona are coming out of. I will say 2 things before we show the race. Number 1, they both got unbelievably good trips. Number 1. Number 2, with all due respect to Manny, Irad completely pantsed Franco in this replay. I remember watching it live. These are the 2 very logical ones, but again, they did get really good trips, and I think there's another one that I think could beat them, but we'll talk about the Chads first. You're going to go with It's Hot in Here.
Yeah, this is an interesting move. I made note that Chad had this horse available in a claiming race last time. The horse won, and now today he shows up in a spot where he's protected. He pulled the same move with a horse called McCullough on Saturday. McCullough had won a maiden claimer, brought McCullough back on an allowance, and won the race. What that means, you're going to find out at 5:04 today, but I did make note of it, and it's a very cogent point, so I wanted to share it with our viewers. I agree with you on the ride last time. This was Irad at his best, and I just think Chad. I think the Chads are tough in here.
So Irad on this hot in here is right here in the green. Here's Franco on the outside, and he just saved the ground, most importantly. And then this move right here, where he sort of splits in between and just bullies Franco sort of out of the way and fights on, was really impressive. But to say that it's hot in here ran the better race, I'm not really sure that's true. To me, this is just a jockey situation. I think they're very similar. And if I had to choose between the two, I'm just going to go with Irad. It's that simple for me.
Yeah, I think if Manny had to do that over again, I think that hole could have been legally closed.
Agreed.
With a little race riding. But probably when Manny thought about closing it, once he's in there, it's too late. Now you're going to get taken down. But certainly, if he did make him go around the way they ran the rest of the race, Manny would have won that race. But again, Manny is a damn good rider. Just Irad is sometimes next level.
He's very good, but there's no doubt in my mind if the shoe was on the other foot, Paul, I guarantee you Irad knows there's someone, and he would have closed that hole legal. Well, Irad partially legally. Irad would have won that race. So that's all I'm just gonna say right there. I think Ray Handel's horse for Dylan Davis, and I love this combination. Next on Stage can absolutely win. I know it didn't win last time. It was a little bit slower. There's not a lot of early speed in this race, Paul. And if Next on Stage can either outbreak the one or just sit off the one and be better, and maybe the Chads don't get the best of trips like they did last time, I think Next on Stage is a real threat to beat the Chads. I frankly don't see anything else in this race other than those three. It would surprise me.
Yeah, I picked him third, have him as a B in my grid. Definitely agree. Ray is having a phenomenal meet. You talked about percentages, 25%. And he certainly had some prices mixed in there. So, and we know him. I know you know him well through Adelphi. Just a good guy and a real solid trainer, and it's great to see him have a meet like this.
Yeah, I think he's got a real shot in that race. Paul, the next race we're going to talk about is the closing day feature, as always. I found it a little bit weird. It's a third to last race of the pick five. In a weird way, I love to see the last race of the entire day in the meet, but I know they don't want to run like a grade one at, at 6:15 local or whatever it's going to be. I understand that, but to have it sort of third to last, I thought was a little bit weird by the racing secretaries. But anyway, who cares, right? This race, the hopeful, Paul, every year it's great. I thought this year's edition could be something special. And I think there are serious horses in here that could obviously be threats, not only in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile at Del Mar, but maybe even next year in the Kentucky Derby. We'll see. There's a long way off from there. Let's take a look at the field for this year's hopeful. Again, grade one for the boys, 7 furlongs, $300,000, of course, for the 2-year-olds. The field is clear. I'm just double checking to make sure that's the case, but it is. The Moorline favorite is a horse that lived up to his name in his debut. Ferocious was absolutely awesome for Delgado and Castellano, 8-5 in the morning line. But I'll tell you what, Paul, he's got some real competition. And when we go to our picks, I think people might be a bit surprised because I'll tell you what, Paul, I am tossing Ferocious out of my top 3, and you only have Ferocious third. And we do have valid reasons why, other than we just want to beat a favorite. I'll let you talk first. I'm sure we have a similar stat that we looked at very carefully that may come into play in the grade one hopeful.
Yeah, I look at this as, I won't say a no-lose proposition, but I'm going to try to beat the horse, and there's a chance he wins by 8 and has us all fired up as the next super horse for the Derby next year, and that'll be fine. I just think, we saw it in a not the same but similar circumstance with 3-year-olds, Too Sharp coming off that 98, going into the prior S and getting beat Saturday. Again, not the same circumstance, but you just don't know what they're going to do off a debut like that. Now, the workout report says he is working the way Mage was working. Of course, Gustavo Delgado won the Derby with Mage. The stat I have, I think is the one you referred to, is in a small sample, Gustavo is 0 for 8 with horses making their second start off a maiden win. That's over 5 years, so 8 is not that many starts. We get it. Obviously, the guy can train. He won the Kentucky Derby. He loses Castellano to that horrific fall on Friday and picks up Irad Ortiz Jr. Not a bad pickup mount. He is down on the inside. He did, he did break slowly last time, but boy, he was good. But I thought Chancer McPatrick's was one of the best 2-year-old races, maiden wins of the meet. I do
Paul,
think
can we show the ferocious replay before I let you continue on?
Of course, you can do whatever you want. You're the host.
I hate to interrupt you, but before we get to Chancer, the stat is disturbing and ferocious. The other thing that's a little bit disturbing, and look, we're poking holes on a horse that was a superstar in his first race. So again, we might be completely wrong today, but that's what's great about horse racing. A lot of these horses, 3 of these horses came back from the debut, the ferocious debut. Contrabandist dropped 7 points. Discreet Dancer dropped 19 points. The last place finisher actually moved up 15, but still just ran a 50. It's fair to say this race was not very strong other than ferocious. Now, people are going to say, well, Howard, who cares about the rest of the field? It's about the clock. I get that. Ferocious broke slow. I don't think he will do that today. And I don't think he should do that today. But, he ran very well. This wasn't a slop too. He tips out again. He's a complete monster. The fact that he faced not a very strong field, Paul, I think made his number look a little bit better in terms of winning by so much. He also did it in the slop, and Delgado's not as good second time out. So when you take all those into consideration, I think there's reasons, and he's going to be 6-5, Paul? There's a lot of reasons to bet against this horse. Again, that's why it's called gambling.
Yeah, and you might be onto something because he really is bred very, very well for the wet. Yep. Flatter by a midnight loop mare. As you said, look at, it's gambling. Okay, they paid $1.3 million for the horse for a reason. Okay, and he gave them no reason to regret that last time. You will. One thing I think you'll see today, though, you'll notice that after he did break that slowly, Castellano really rode him hard to get him in position. That's less of an issue at 7 furlongs today, although you don't want to be stuck down inside for too long at 7 because it's a little bit of a different ballgame. I certainly think the horse that I like anyway, you like too, post position wise, we got the better of it.
I agree. I had my first 3 numbers wrong initially. I had to change the banner. Sorry about that. Chance McPatrick. We were there, Paul, that weekend, that July weekend. It was a loaded main race. I thought it was a loaded one. But then some horses coming out of that race just ran this weekend did not run well. That is a little bit of a concern, me, number one. The other concern, me, number two, Paul, is that race fell apart. Let's just call it like it is. Now, all that being said, Chad has said this horse really wants 2 turns. He's by McKinsey out of a Bernardini mare. I think if this horse is healthy, let me repeat this really clearly. This is not my future Derby pick next year. There's way too long to go for me to suggest that. But I think this horse is Derby meant. And does that mean he's going to win today? I don't know. But his stride is tremendous. He's been working very well with the 9. We'll talk about incentive pay in just a minute. I don't think the race has to fall apart for Chance McPatrick to win. There is enough pace in this race. I think he's going to be a little more forward. This is a serious animal who cost $725, Paul, at the OBS April last year.
For Massachusetts native Sean Flanagan of Flanagan Racing. So we always like to see Massachusetts people do well, don't we, Howard?
We sure do. He's the 4 in this replay as you talk through it. Go ahead.
Yes, and Chris Couples just put a typically cogent comment in the points for him. They really, for a 2-year-old, they were in no hurry with this horse. Looked like he was just rating, get him an education, and then all of a sudden they hit the 16th pole, and he's got to make up 6 lengths, and he does it pretty easily. This horse is loose. Now, look, I know the horse is 16-1. I get it, but this horse is loose, and just if you want to keep it going, Mr. Gallopout, he just gallops on by. And as I just said in the comment to Chris, yeah, this horse probably has one more one-turn race after this, and then
Yep.
it's on to two turns.
And I think we know which race that's going to be. It's through the Champagne.
Correct.
When you watch replays, and Paul, I'm not gonna say I'm a professional, race watcher, but I watch thousands of races. I think that close was a bit deceiving because it looks like he's flying. Those horses up front were tiring, Paul, pretty badly. In fact, the first and second place finishers came back and did not run well this past weekend. So although I have Chancer on top, I think it was a little bit deceiving on how he won. It's weird, Paul, because you'd think that the two favorites, one of these horses is going to win, right? The 2 and 8. I have reasons to think that they are not, and that's why I'm going to spread in this race. You're a bit interested in the number 6, Studley Do Right, who absolutely wants distance for sure and has done nothing wrong in his career and will be closing to a fast pace. And I've got the number 9, Incentive Pay, who won much better than it looked last time. I'm not going to show the replay, otherwise the show will go on for an hour and a half. But Incentive Pay has been working evenly with Chancellor McPatrick. It's the other Chad. He's very talented as well. I think my horse can win. I don't love your horse in second, but I don't think your horse is going to win in my opinion. But I'll let you defend Studley Do Right. And then we got Mentee for Todd, who's had a little bit of an illness issue, but is working very well. And who would be surprised if this horse won? I'll let you talk about Studley. I'll talk quickly about Incentive Pay and Mentee, and then we'll go quicker through the last 2 races.
Yeah, Studley for me is strictly a board play. Okay. We don't know who's going to take to the 7 furlongs and who isn't. This horse was running from behind. John Robb is a real good Maryland trainer who does not ship up here haphazardly. So I just think this horse, Moplex is his loss, and Moplex came back and won a New York bred stakes off of that. And Howard, I am going to play the role of Pete, and I'll give you a little bit of a poo-poo stat on your 9. Can I give you a little poo-poo stat on your 9?
Throw it at me.
Chad Brown, second time starter off a debut winner in dirt stakes, 4 for 31, which isn't awful, but by Chad's standards, 13, 14% is, if you're Chad Brown, 13, 14% is awful.
All right, Mr. Journalist, I'm going to throw the poo-poo back at you. Doesn't that stat also fit Chancellor McPatrick, who you have on top?
Good point by you.
Bam, Paul Halloran.
Uh-oh, looks like Ferocious is winning the Derby.
Take that. Your point is noted. If you're going to argue with one horse, don't you have to argue with the other one?
No, that's
just saying. But anyway.
Yeah, and we should say they've been working very well together, by the way. Speaking of workouts.
I've watched the workouts, and Incentive Pay's been working even with Chancer. He's a little bit more headstrong. He's a little more aggressive than Chancer. 2 quick comments on the bottom. Number 1, Roland Williams. What's up, Roland? Ferocious is a single. I get it. Right. I totally get it. A lot of people thought about that about Arthur's Ride, though, yesterday, too. So I just want to mention that. The other thing, please, a nice shout out from Larry. Wonderful call. Paul, that was actually mine. But that
was Howard.
Right. That's okay. But anyway, we get the idea. Thanks, Larry. Now I'm going to take the comment off the screen. Anyway, best bet 5, Federal Judge, who I said I think in my best bets, bet as much as humanly possible. And we have a friend who pretty much did that, by the way, Paul. I'll keep that person nameless. Help me hit the early pick 5. Wow, for almost $7,000, Larry. That is awesome. Larry actually emailed me also, Paul. So thank you very much, Larry. I greatly appreciate that. I don't care who had him on top. We'll take credit for this podcast any way it goes. Like I said,
that would mean podcast viewers had a 5,000 plus pick 5, and we got a nice email from someone who had a $2,700 pick 3.
And that was all you in the Power Picks tip sheet. So yeah, people are scoring, man. There's no doubt about it. Incentive Pay, like I said, I think is very interesting here. It's the other Chad. He ran very well last time. Go watch the replay. I don't think he's out of it. Mentee, who is freaky fast and came out a completely loaded main racing. It's a really nice horse called Colloquial. Had a little bit of an issue this summer, is working well back. I carefully looked at the workout reports, Paul. They're trying to relax him a little bit, and he's been galloping out well. And my first instinct was to toss him completely, but now I'm going to use him because of the workout report. And I just think Pletcher wouldn't run him here if he wasn't ready. Anyway, it's going to be a great race, Paul. Go ahead. I'll let you finish. We'll get
Yeah,
the
well,
last
I
two.
was going to say, I would think that they would want to sit behind the 3, the 4, or both with Menti. That was an easy race for Menti, but we talked about it when he was supposed to run last time when he was scratched. He 5 furlongs. Johnny wrapped up on him either too soon or he almost got caught sleeping. But I would say that I don't think they think they're going to win this race gate to wire. I think they want to. And with Manny Franco on the 3 and Louis Sayers on the 4, they likely will get a chance to sit behind one or both of them.
Totally agree with you on that. It's going to be a great race. Paul, let's get in the last 2 races. We'll go through this a little more quickly, although I'm not sure we should because I thought this late double is impossible. Really difficult. Well,
I'm going to make it a lot easier for you, but go ahead.
Well, all right. Well, I appreciate your help. I'm going to need it. These last 2 races I thought were very difficult. Race number 11, allowance race, mile and 16th on the Melon, I believe, 12 feet, big field. There are some scratches. The 6 is out, and the 14 through 16 are out. So it's a big field of 12. Morning favorite is the number 11, Child of the Moon, Chad and Pratt. Chad also has IRAD on the comebacking Euro number 8. I shouldn't say Euro bred number 8, Venencia. Let's see who we're going. I'm going a little bit off the radar here. I don't want to go with chalks. I went 4, 5, 11. Paul went 11, 5, 8. Child of the Moon is very logical, Paul, but I thought he got a really good, or she. I just did it, right? Yep, she. Hold on a second. There we go. I thought she got a really good trip last time, and she might get that kind of trip again because it's Flavian, but a huge field, the 11 hole, isn't that much better than a lot of others. I'm going to use her. I'm not a huge fan from a betting perspective. Tell me why I'm wrong, Paul.
Yeah, she's my best bet of the day. So
Whoa! Wow! Child of the Moon, bam! Just go to the windows, people.
I didn't actually put that in the power picks. I didn't lead into it. I'm giving away all the power picks, but by now they're gone anyway. I think the source is now the post is of concern, less of a concern with Mr. Flavian on top, but. I just think this race sets up very well for her. The 8 is a little bit of a wild card. Obviously, the layoff, no issue with Chad. So, that's a factor. I agree with you on the 5. I think the 5 is a good price play. The 5 is mystifying. I have second, I think. Yes, I have second.
Yeah, you do.
We both have second. The Dam and 2 siblings, one on turf. It's a Curlin. They can run on anything, obviously. So I think that's the price play. But yeah, I really think the 11 is the most likely winner.
I'm going to show the replay. You know what, Paul? I'm gonna detour on that. She got a really good trip and ran well. Obviously, I know she can win. Yes, I'm using her, and she lost to Root Cause. It sort of got loose. I don't know. I don't think she lays over this field or anything. But look, I hear what you're saying. She probably is the horse to beat. I'm going to get a little cute in this race, Paul. You already mentioned the 5. Is the 4 the most likely winner? Obviously not. But there are some things to like. I mean, look at Golden Rocket, who is a New York bred. Last year, she's 5. I don't see any reason why she can't fire today. I thought Golden Rocket ran very well last year. She was in the Yadu, didn't do much running there. But, I mean, in allowance company in New York, she was running very well and getting figs that certainly fit. Has been awful a while. They rested her up for this meet, and she ran a distance that didn't suit her and still did it very well. If you believe that a closer is going to win, I just don't see a reason why Golden Rocket can't be a major factor here. Maybe I have her too high. Maybe she's more of a board horse, as you like to say. I don't know. I think Golden Rocket is interesting here, and I'll tell you who I really like and probably should have put on top is Mystifying. You already mentioned this horse is bred for turf. It's Sugar and Tyler. I just want to quickly, so people understand. People are like, well, look at the last race. I mean, she was awful. Let me just show something really quick. First of all, I think she's gonna be much better on turf, and she's rested up. I just want to show the action of Mystifying because I wanted to watch it myself. I'm like, what happened? Like, watch the 8. This is a Gulfstream, and watch how much she's climbing. This reminds me of a replay we watched on Saturday, Paul. Remember with the two turf horses we liked that were running on
Yeah.
dirt. Watch the 8 here in the Phipps. First, you see this action. See how she's got high knee action. Watch carefully the Phipps horse here. I don't know if you've seen this, Paul, but watch. She's going to really be like climbing and jumping. See this right here? She's taking a lot of kickback. You see this action here, Paul? This is not good. It looks like she's hippity hoppeting. She's not happy. She's not happy right there at all. And you know that because the jock got away from all this kickback and sent her to the outside. You see all this kickback here. She got away from it. She didn't run very well after that. To me, that absolutely matters. I've seen way too many replays to think of that it doesn't matter. I think Mystifying is going to run a big race. I'm very spready here, Paul. I think it's a difficult race.
Well, this is what Shug had to say about her in the Saratoga Special Stable Tour on Travers Day. It's the meet is over now, but these stable tours that are basically one of the guys goes through every horse in the barn with all the big trainers. This was Shug on Travers Day. Said she won her first start, then she had a little bit of an awkward winner at Payson, which of course is one of the training tracks at Florida. I had her in the other day off of a long layoff, and she was coughing, obviously scratched her. I hope to run her here Labor Day weekend on the turf. I worked her on the turf, worked really good, even though she's by Curlin, but her female family has been on the turf. So Shug has been looking to get this horse on the turf. And I agree. And Howard, back to Golden Rocket, who Steve Bick picked as his play of the day today.
Really?
Any of our viewers can tell us 1 or 2 or 3 noteworthy items about the sire of Golden Rocket.
Well,
there
now
are
I got
three things worth.
Go ahead. I already
noting.
switched.
2 especially.
Go ahead.
All right. Well, Alpha, many might not remember, won the Travers. Okay. But
was that
what about
dead heat? Was that the dead heat?
Ding, 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 ding. And now for extra credit.
Yay.
Who was the dead heat with?
Oh, golden ticket. What do I get?
Catholic boy shirt.
Oh, I thought maybe I get another hat. No. All right.
So anyway, that's
that is
racing
cool.
trivia for today.
All right. Let's go on to the last race, Paul. Paul, we've got more than 400 people watching live right now on YouTube, on X. Thank you so much. We've really enjoyed these shows. We got one more race to go. It's the last race of the Saratoga meet. And what better way to close out the Saratoga meet than a 2-turn turf race for New York breds that are maiden 40 claimers? Why not, right? There you go. It's a $50,000 purse. The 1 is out. So is the 12 through 13, 14. 16 is out. The morning line favorite is the number 6. What a surprise for Chad. Dance on Air for with Flavian Pratt in the irons. Here we go. I'm going 2-6-10. Paul's going 5-2-6. Interesting enough, Paul, this is a very difficult race, and we're actually quite similar with two of the same horses in our top 3. You're going to go with, where's my shirt? A Catholic boy. You're going to go with Lose Redemption for David Duggan and Ramiro Ramage to win the last race.
Well, as I noted in today's Power Picks out, this is a repeat spot play for me. I had this filly as a spot play last time, of course, on the turf. And interestingly, David Duggan kept her in, and she very nearly won the race, which probably wasn't the plan. But I think this horse has a decent shot. He ran this horse maiden special 5 times for good money, ran a decent third down at Aqueduct. The Catholic boys are A, better on turf, and B, better going long than short. You got to deal with Chad and Pratt, and you got to deal with this Tapaz horse on the inside is tough. But I just think that, especially with the type of meet I've had, Howard, I'd like to end it with some redemption.
Oh, wow. And you very, very interesting quip in your power picks that I thought was very apropos as I'm working on my vocab here to stick with Paul Halloran, which is not easy to do. I didn't like two back Paul. I like this horse in this spot. I would have, if she got the job, well, if she got the job done, she wouldn't be in this race. But the fact that she lost at this level and just gave it up late at a relatively low price into a slow pace, I know she can win. She can win, Paul, and I, agree with you in general. I just didn't like the last race. I'm trying to find fresh faces here. I'm sick of some of these horses that can't get the job done. I'm going to go with Tour Jete, who is not run very well, but twice Horatio's tried to get Tour Jete on the turf, has not been able to do it. This is a horse by War Dancer out of a Sligo Bay mare, so clearly turf is what this horse wants. Is she talented enough? I gotta be honest, I have absolutely no idea, Paul. But I want to go with the fresh face here. Now draws the rail, should show some speed from the inside with Jose and get a really nice trip. I defaulted to the Chad dance on air. I watched the replay two back. It was not very good, Paul. She got a perfect trip and just didn't kick on, but that was a tougher field with Island Fox, etc. And so maybe again, just the Flavian angle here. She's going to run a big race. And I even threw the first time starter. I would not sleep on this horse. I know Linda's not great first out on turf. This horse got some breeding. Freud of a perfect soul mare, perfect legacy, was a turf horse. The horse is working well. Irad riding for Linda in the last race of the meet. Do we really think Irad's going to jump on a horse that cannot win in the last race of the meet? I'm a little bit interested in Dancing Jane as well in a very tough way to close out the Saratoga meet, Paul.
I had Dancing Jane as a C. The Dam was 0 for 3 on turf, but there are two siblings who've won on turf. Freud is not great with first-time starters, only 7%, but he is much better with turf rooters, goes up to 13%. And finally, Linda, maiden claimants, first-time starters, turf roots, has only done it 4 times in the last 5 years, won one of them. On all turf maiden claim of first time starter, she wins at 17%. So I wouldn't be I wouldn't be shocked. I'd love to be alive with 4 A's going into this race and have this horse be available on the ticket.
If it wasn't Irad, I would have no interest in this horse, but the fact that Irad jumps on, I just have to. That raises my bunny ears. Speaking of bunny ears, I think a horse won Saturday that was flopping his ears in a workout and conniving, right? Conniving. For Lane Luzzy got his first win of the meet.
And he got a second. He got his second yesterday, Howard.
Yes, I told you.
And Zito got his first yesterday, didn't he? I'm telling you, things happen, and there's nothing nefarious about this, but everyone's got to eat. And things happened the last week, and you'll read about that a little bit in my power picks today.
You were so spot on with that comment, Paul, how these lower percentage jockeys and trainers tend to win the last weekend just because of the situation. So you were absolutely spot on. Paul, you've been spot on this entire summer. We really appreciate it. And again, I cannot thank all you listening and watching enough. Our viewership on these morning shows has been absolutely spectacular. We may, Paul, I shouldn't tease this because I know now I'm committing to it, but we have done Keeneland Today morning shows in the past. We did it last year for the fall meet. We might do people want to see Keeneland Today in October? Because look, we're men of the people, Paul. We'll give people what they want. So if you're interested in Keeneland Today morning show and or Keeneland Power Pick tip sheet, both of those are in the offering. I'm going to be sending out a survey to people that subscribe to our Power Picks tip sheets and ask them those questions, and we'll go from there. But Paul, we are nothing without our viewers and listeners, and we hope to give people some information, hopefully winners, but most importantly, just some things and tidbits to think about on a particular card.
Yes, and it was great. We had the meet and greet on I think it was Jim Dandy Day, and we got to meet a bunch, and I got to have a drink with Ralph Conti on Wednesday of Travers Week, and I've told many people about this, about our viewership. I said although it's getting larger, I said it's not, we don't have thousands and thousands at a time. I said, but they are as loyal as there is. And Howard, if we end up doing Keeneland today, which of course we are going to now that we've, I know you're there for the first weekend. Yeah. I will commit to the second weekend, coming to you live from Kentucky, and maybe some special guests, special friends of ours who live close to Keeneland might join us. I think you know whom I'm talking about.
Really? Wow.
And
okay.
Howard, can I just say one last thing on that? Saturday, there was a really special moment at Kentucky Downs. Carson's run was running for Christophe Clement and West Point in the $3 million Nashville Derby. Carson's dad, Wade Yost, flew in from Washington. Oh, wow. And last minute, unbeknownst to him, the Dormans made the trek. Of course, they met at the Breeders' Cup. I was there. They met Thursday of Breeders' Cup week, when the famous picture you put up last week of Cody and Carson. He did not know they were coming, and they surprised Wade Yost in the one of the rooms at Kentucky Downs, and it was a pretty emotional meeting of those parents on Saturday. So hats off to Jenny Reese and her team at Kentucky Downs for making that happen.
That is really cool to hear. They're just Dormans are an incredible family, and the Yosts as well. My final thought for all of our Saratoga Today morning shows. I didn't ask you for a best bet, Paul. Don't worry about it. I have an interesting best bet. Someone already asked in the chat. Here it is. Take a long nap, because I got to tell you, as much as I love this, Paul, I'm tired, and it's Labor Day. Happy Labor Day to everyone. Good luck on closing day at Saratoga. We love you. Thanks for joining us. Hit the subscribe button. Hit the notification bell. You know what to do on YouTube. For my good friend and co-host of Picks and Ponies and today's Saratoga Today, and writer for the Saratoga Special, Mr. Paul Howard. And this has been your host, Howard Kravitz. Crush your bets on closing day at the spa. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.
If you have not followed his Triple H horse racing podcast, you're missing out. It's one of the best podcasts in the country.